Hey guys, Katie from the K Show blog here, and today I want to talk about how to survive the upcoming sales season if you're trying to save money for travel or anything else. Now, I thought of making this video because I saw a tweet from this chick and she was kind of just saying something about how she was worried about all the credit card debt she was about to accrue because the holidays were coming up. It just was so sad to see, especially from a young person, because it seems like it feels like that's just what we're taught. It's just the way it is and we just accept it. And there's not a lot of messaging we get that there could be another way, or you could survive the holidays without racking up a huge credit card bill. Or maybe you don't have to buy everyone you know presents that goes beyond the limits of your budget and things like that. Just because it's a holidays doesn't mean you have to sacrifice control of your finances and put yourself in a shittier position to start the next year with. If you are trying to save a bit of money or get control of your finances, or just don't want to get caught up in the kind of gross materialism that is the holidays, here are my best tips for getting through it. So number one, set a budget, write a list, and stick to it. There's no way you go into the holidays and come out a winner unless you have a plan. This is very important. I think a lot of people go into these things blind, and that's where they get stuck because they have no boundaries or no framework to work within. So first, figure out your finances. You need to figure out how much money you actually have for presents, for functions like work, Christmas parties and all that kind of thing, for the family get-togethers where you might have to bring food and allocate extra money in your budget for those kinds of things. All the money you have to put towards Christmas. It can be a little bruising to the ego if you don't have as much as you would like to have, or you can't get everyone a present, but you need to know the number to know what you're working with. For the gifts, write out a list of people you want to give a gift to and stick to it. Don't need to buy everyone you know a gift. And even if you do want to make people feel special and loved, you don't have to do that with a gift. You can absolutely give that feeling to that person without having to spend a ton of cash. We'll talk more about gifts later in the video, but the first step is really just having your boundaries, having a framework, and setting yourself up to succeed through the holidays. Second most important step is communicating your plans with people in your circle so that they can best support you and it avoids any unmet expectations or awkwardness. Like when somebody had bought you a gift but you hadn't got them anything, then there's that awkward moment because you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't get you anything. Or you pretend like you did get them something but you just didn't bring it that day, and then you rush out and buy something that might not have been in your budget. Just gonna avoid all of that by being open and communicative with where your limits are. Honestly, communication solves so many problems in my opinion. Like, most of people's issues could be solved by just talking about things. But yeah, in this case, people wouldn't necessarily feel left out because they would have known in advance you weren't getting them anything, or you had budget limits or whatever it is, and it would just take away a bit of the awkwardness and keep everyone reading from the same book, you know? And honestly, I think people get scared to talk about their budget limitations, but people are most likely gonna be able to support you. They're gonna be like, oh, that's okay. You know, most people are gonna be like that. Not many people, hopefully, are going to be like, oh, you need to reevaluate your budget and get me something. If you have those kind of people in your life, you really need to remove them because that's not healthy. But I think, you know, having that conversation is awkward for us, but it's gonna turn out so much different to the worst case scenario that plays in your head. Everyone's different. I would just acknowledge the awkwardness off the bat. That's how I handle all these awkward conversations, and just say, hey, I know it's a bit awkward, but I'm a bit limited on budget this year and I'm not gonna be able to afford to get you any gifts. And I just wanted to let you know because I didn't want you to get me something and then feel left out afterwards. And just say it like that, but whatever works for you and the people you're around. And it's hard because usually you have a lot of circles. You know, you have your family, then your work people, and then the kids' school people and their friends' parents, and extracurricular activities and all that sort of stuff. Maybe you could do it in an email, maybe you just do quick chats here and there. I don't know, you figure out whatever's easiest for you, but just you can set your boundaries, but also remind people that they're still loved and they're still important to you. Number 3, unsubscribe from all email newsletters. So the last part of the year is the biggest money-making period for a lot of businesses, and they know it. And there's a big push, especially on email marketing, to get you to spend all of your hard-earned dollars on whatever it is they're trying to sell that you suddenly need and won't be able to live without. All of a sudden, your email inbox is filled with like, oh, don't miss this sale, and you know, today only, and all these little things to push you to impulsively spend your money. Don't do it. I usually just delete them as soon as I see them. Like, I don't even open the email. But if you have a particular weakness for these kind of emails and online shopping, it's probably worth just unsubscribing altogether, because they're going to start coming through pretty heavily really soon. You could unsubscribe as you go, or unroll.me can just unsubscribe a bunch at once, and that might be a helpful tool to just get it away from having to see it every day and having that temptation in front of you every day. And you might be thinking like, oh, what if I miss a great sale or something? But come on, be serious with yourself and be honest with yourself. What are you really gonna miss? You're just gonna miss an opportunity to impulsively spend money on things that you hadn't thought about before, and it's just gonna take you further away from your financial goals. So why do it? You know, if you wanna reach a goal, you gotta put in the effort to get there, and that stuff is just gonna take you further away from it, really. Number 4, consider who you follow online. So while you do the unsubscribing to get some freedom in your email inbox, you might want to go and unfollow sort of retail outlets on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff as well, because they'll be pushing those sales, you know, on Instagram and all their social media outlets as well. It's all just like extra noise that will make sticking to a budget a million times harder. And I think it's also important to evaluate who you follow in terms of bloggers and influencers as well, because it's their big money making season just as much as it is retailers, because they work for the retailers, you know. It's probably a good time to evaluate who you're following, how they make you feel, if they're constantly just pushing products that you need. What are you really getting out of that versus what are they getting out of you when you impulsively buy? You know how they say that you're the result, or the, what is that word? You're like the combination of the people you have around you. Well, I think it's kind of the same on social media. Like, if all you follow is that kind of like, buy, you need this stuff to be happy, then you're gonna keep absorbing that energy. So, you know, it's probably a good time to just reevaluate who you're following. Number 5, make a plan for Black Friday and Cyber Monday and whatever the other days are that businesses try and do their mad rushes to get you to shop in their like great sales. Sure, some things are on sale, but the sales like aren't as epic as people make them out to be. People are usually buying things they don't need anyway, and none of the sales are worth like lining up at midnight or beating someone with a frozen chicken over a blender or anything like that. Like, it's just so crazy. People turn into like monsters for these sales and just like consume, you know. It's just a bit too much, man. So just try and avoid these sales. There's probably stuff you don't really need. You could probably live without it, and you put that same money towards either chipping away at your debt or saving for whatever you're actually trying to save for. And that's going to be such a better use for your money than like having a new toaster or whatever. And if you get really tempted by these type of sales and stuff, or maybe even find yourself getting defensive when I'm saying this stuff, maybe it's a good idea to like make a plan to be away from the shops and away from your computer for these days. Like, make a plan to go out hiking or go for a picnic or go for a walk, or like just make some sort of commitment to be out doing something or doing something with your family even. And then it's going to be one more step to take that temptation away from you. Honestly, if you don't buy anything on the sales, like I don't buy anything on any of the sales, and my life feels just as normal as it did before those sales weekends. So like, you're not going to really miss out on anything. Number 6, Secret Santa. Okay, so we're back on the gift giving now, and one idea is to do a Secret Santa with your family, so that instead of having to buy everyone a present, you can just each buy one person something, so everyone gets something in the end, but you don't have to have that, you know, huge impact on your budget. It's not a foolproof plan, because maybe your whole family won't agree on it, although I think most people, since, you know, they get the same pressure at Christmas to have to spend all this money and their budgets are tight too. Most people would appreciate it, unless you're from like a really rich family or something. But it isn't foolproof because you do have to get that agreement from everyone, but it's worth putting forward as a suggestion. If your family doesn't agree on it, then I would just communicate that you can't afford to buy everyone presents if that was one of your things that you couldn't afford, and maybe you would just focus on the kids or something like that. Just let them know so they don't get disappointed on Christmas Day. If they got angry about that, like, who cares? Like, unless they pay your bills, it doesn't matter. You gotta have boundaries and you gotta like stick to your goals, and sometimes people get angry, but I think most rational, logical people are not gonna get angry if you can explain everything clearly. And if you're not just being super selfish, like I'm not buying anyone anything for Christmas because I want to go to the Maldives or something like that. Like that's just a bit selfish. So as long as you're like, hey, I don't have enough to buy everyone something, I just want to focus on, you know, either the parents or just the kids or something. You still want to give something. Like, don't be so selfish. But yeah, that's another option anyways, doing the Secret Santa. Number 7, give the gift of time. Now for the presents you do have to get, they don't all have to be super expensive. There are some alternatives. So perhaps you could hand make something in bulk that could cover a lot of the extra people in your life, like school teachers and coaches and workmates and things like that. Just hand make a bunch of stuff. Pinterest has a lot of good ideas like cookies, or you know, you can make bath salts, or the hot chocolate in the jar, good ideas, or things like that. You could even just buy like bulk lollies or something and decorate it in nice jars. Something like that. They could also get kids involved, which is good, but it would also help, you know, still be able to give a lot of people something, but without that price tag of buying everyone something individually. And handmade stuff is so nice anyway. It's so thoughtful and it has like an extra touch as opposed to like a ornament that's just going to sit on a shelf. And for the people inside your circle, the close family and friends that you really value a lot, I honestly think time is the best gift you could give anyone. So either make little vouchers for dates you can have in the future, like I owe you one dinner date, and we can just chill out and talk without phones or anything and actually give each other some good quality time. You could offer to babysit for friends, like make a voucher so that they could have a kid-free night out and then you'll take care of the kids. Kind of have to like kids for that one, especially their kids, but that's an option. You could get creative for whoever's around, but make the vouchers for something you and that person really love to do. Like if you really like going on bushwalks together, it could be like, I owe you one bushwalk, you know, and then they can cash it in later in the year after like the crazy season schedules have gone down a bit. But that's like a really cool idea, and I think it's actually valuable and important for your relationships because, you know, that time together is the one thing you can't buy, so you could give like the unbuyable gift. So I hope that can help take a little bit of stress out of Christmas. I know everyone's like budgets and limitations and families, it's also different, so there's not really like a one size fits all, but hopefully at least this gives you the confidence that if you had just accepted, oh, I'm gonna start next year off $5,000 in debt or whatever, you know that there is actually another way, and maybe you could at least give it a go and try and work towards not letting the holidays, which are meant to be centered around like family and friends and appreciation and gratitude, be centered around like needing to buy everything for everyone at the sacrifice of your own finances. If it does, remember to leave a comment, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.